What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Zaylee Podcast. How you guys doing today? How you guys feeling? This is episode, I'm not going to say what episode this is because I'm not entirely sure what the order is right now. So I'm going to hold off on saying what episode it is, but you guys will know when you are watching this. Appreciate you guys. Much love. And today I am with Mitch. I know you guys haven't seen him in a while because he's been dodging, bro. He's been dodging.
No, I haven't.
No, I'm just kidding. But he is back.
Third time on, right?
Third time on,
yes.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Feels
Third time
it's
on.
been like a month, but I think it's actually only been like 2 weeks, to be honest.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that.
It hasn't been that long. No, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. So let's just screw it. Let's just jump right into it, you know, because people just don't like us wasting time.
Yeah, they don't really.
They don't.
Know? And our main topic today, Isaiah, is happiness, right?
Ooh, this is going to be good.
It is.
I think.
And happiness, dude, like, we were talking about this right before. Happiness, like, where do you start, honestly? There are so many different forms of happiness, I feel like. But instead of biting too much off the cookie at one time, let's just start real basic, right? What is your personal definition of happiness?
Yeah, so when you sent me this question, just to give you guys a little context. Like, me and you both work a lot, so then we don't get much time to research the topics before and kind of like think about it. This one is not necessarily one that you have to research, but I only had a couple of minutes to really think about like, what is my definition of happiness? And I don't know if I have a particular definition, but what I will say is the only research that I did is I was like, you know what? Let me type into Google happiness. Not put anything before it, not put anything after it, and see what comes up. Just see what comes up. So, when I typed happiness into Google, what came up was pictures of, you know, the palm trees in California, and then a girl like this. You know, a girl with like her arms out, like spread to the universe, like opened up. And I'm like, what does this mean? And then I looked in the images section of Google, and it was just like smiley faces, you know, smiley faces. And then it was always a girl. It was always a girl like with her hair like this. And it was just, and I'm like, what is this trying to convey? Like, what is the point that this is trying to convey? So I think happiness is not that in its entirety. That's what we all think happiness is. But I don't know if happiness is just, you know, the girl on a beach in Florida, like head back.
No worries. Yeah.
That position that you get in to be like just feeling that amazing or whatever, there's a lot that comes before it. And it's almost like how that image is represented to us is a mistake. Because you don't see, let's just say that girl is in California on like walking down and there's palm trees. How did she get there? You know, who suffered for her to be in a position to be that happy and carefree? Was it her? Did she work extremely hard and now she's in that position and it's like carefree? I'm so happy. It's whatever, you know? Or was it her family, her mom or her dad who worked that hard? Like, there's always more to the story. It's like, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's like what you see is happiness. But then there's so much more leading up to it. It's like, there's a balance, right? Like, you have to go through a required level of, I don't want to call it suffering, but sacrifice in a way to be able to have that happiness, I think. But I don't know. What do you think?
See, maybe. See, I guess I agree. I actually do agree with that. Something, though, I think about is like, if you're happy, like whenever I'm like very happy, I really realize I'm in the present moment, right? I actually remember, this kind of goes back to like MJ actually said, like, whenever he was shooting a ball, people were always like, well, what if you'd missed that? What if you missed this ball, this next shot? And he was always like, I'm not even thinking. I'm literally in the present moment. Why would I be thinking about something in the future? Yeah. And I think happiness comes a lot with living in the present moment and not really worrying about anything other than that. I think happiness has many different meanings. Happiness can also symbolize a moment in your life. And I think like happiness for me, for sure, is just being at peace with yourself. That can go as far, and of course, there's history to how you got that peace, right? There's always history to it. But sometimes there doesn't necessarily, I guess, have to, because it's all about how someone just thinks about it. Because you could have someone that could be living on the streets and they could really just be happy, like truthfully happy, because
literally
they have no worries in the world. If say tomorrow I would so happen to end up on the streets because I'm homeless, whatever, I wouldn't be happy because I would know my full potential that I used to be at. But I feel like it all just depends on how someone's mindset is. I know a lot of people are not as fortunate as others,
right?
So that's always hard to compare. I know that for a fact. But yeah, I mean, kind of went down a rabbit hole there, but like 100%, I think it's at just finding peace with yourself. And in order to find that peace with yourself, like some people, that's a lot of stuff you have to go through in order to find the peace. Others, not as much, you know. Maybe their family, maybe someone's peace is winning the lottery, right? But that could be another person's absolute hell, you know, winning the lottery, and then everyone around you is like, oh, but I was your friend at this moment, you should give me money. And now that person's like torn apart with themselves because now others are wanting too much from them, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. Would you agree with that? Living the present moment? That's like my main thing, I think. Living in the present moment and being at peace with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. Being in the present moment, when certain situations, when you've done the required work and certain situations are going well for you, like kind of taking yourself out of that situation, realizing like, oh, dude, this ain't that bad. Like, this is kind of happiness right here. Like, I'm living the life. I mean, it's hard to say because anytime, you know, we live in at least us, it's not everybody, but a lot of people in America live pretty darn well. Like there is, you know, we do work a lot in this country, and there is some things that are very tough, and, you know, maybe politics are a little bit crazy here and there. But if you just take yourself out of it for a second and you kind of look around, you're like, oh, dude, this could be way worse, like way worse in different situations. So being present in that moment, like for instance, this is actually recently, I changed my attitude towards certain things. So, I think I was always a pretty nice guy, but I was never, and maybe some people think differently, but I was never positive completely, and positive even when there was like negative situations. You know, sometimes I would complain about certain things. But then I switched to being more positive, and it legit has changed me in like 2 weeks.
I believe
like that. It's changed me from the like inside out by this positivity. And there's a lot of other reasons too. For me personally, it's been, you know, learning more, about God. And that has actually shaped me a lot more and kind of changed me from the inside out. But definitely this just positivity, like even in the face of like certain situations at work where I'm just like, let's get it. Like just joking around or messing with people or like saying something funny, like in chat, like we have a chat thing in chat, even when it's like going bad, like, or even when something's going bad or there's like a busy stuff, it's like, you know, screw it. Or, you know, for instance, I did something for somebody at work, like, not unprovoked, but basically like unprovoked in a way. Like no one told me to do it. I just did it for this person. I knew I could do it. So I just did it. And I'm like, that was cool.
Why not?
Like, even though it's like for a little bit to do it and figure it out for the person, they're going to wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, dang, he did that for me. Yep. And then that positivity rubs off on that person.
Correct.
And then maybe they're a little bit more positive in their day and a little bit more happy. And then their happiness rubs off on somebody else.
Rubs off on you also because, I mean, you started a chain, right?
Yeah, it's like synergy, right?
It's such a reward knowing that you've helped someone else just by, even if it was something little, right?
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah.
And attitude, I didn't even mention that, but attitude is definitely such a big thing. Like like every single morning, like the first thing you talked about God, you know, obviously we've already talked about God in our last podcast, but like the first thing I like to do is just like literally just thank God for this day. Like it's such a simple thing. It is such a small, simple thing. But like at the same time, it's like that you've already won. You know, you've literally already won your first step of the day. If something bad happens throughout the day, it could be worse. You could be without shelter. You could be without food. You could be without food on the kitchen table. You know, it could be worse. And like, I remember my dad still tells me to this day, like, you literally cannot do anything about the past. Even though it's so easy for people to say that, like, oh, don't worry about it in this moment because you can't do anything about it. Well, yeah, but it's still gonna bother me. You know, if you miss a winning game shot, you're not gonna go home and just forget about it right away.
Right.
But if you can come to peace with yourself, like knowing like you literally can't do anything about that, dude. The only thing you can do from here on out is to get better. Or even if you stay the same, it's still getting better just because your mentality is thinking about getting better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, attitude for sure. Small steps win the race, man. We used to have this the math consistency. You talked about that.
True.
We had this old math teacher at my high school, and I'm gonna murder this quote, but he was in the army, and one of the things they say is like smooth is steady, and or how did he say? Should have looked that up.
Fast is slow or something like that.
No. It's like slow is smooth, smooth is steady, steady is fast, or steady wins the race, or some shit like that. Basically saying, take baby steps. You will get rewarded in the end. That's basically what it's saying.
100%.
But yeah. So I mean, yeah,
I'm listening. I think like I kind of tailed off. This might be a little bit different of a question. It might tail off a little bit, but I wanted to ask it because I want to see what you think. As you're talking and as you're kind of laying out happiness, this peace concept, like all this stuff, it shows me, it makes me think, is happiness a state of being, not a tangible thing? Like, for instance, a lot of people think when I get this car, I'll be happy. Or when I make this amount of money, then I can start being happy. When I, get, this girl, I'll be happy. Or this guy, I'll be happy. But the more I'm thinking about it, I think about people that don't have those things and are still happy, or some people, right? Or people that grew up in way worse situations than we grew up in that still find a way to be happy, but their peers maybe are not happy. So it's like, it makes me think like, what is the equation for happiness? And really, it seems like it's just internal. But what do you think? So
you said you looked up happy before you came here, or
like on Google Images, Google. I looked up happiness just to poke around to see what were they showing, what were the images they were showing.
So this is why we are very alike. Because on my way here from the gym, I went to Siri. No, I'm dead ass. Because I was like, I want to talk about, I want to know the true definition. So I said, hey Siri, what is? Oh, it's gonna do it now. I said, what is the definition of happiness? She goes, the state of being happy. I said, well, that doesn't get down to the bones. So then I was like, okay, what's the definition of happy? And there's 3 of them. One of them was being in the state of content, or something, like being at a state of content. Something it's
like a circular argument.
Yeah. What's the definition of content?
Being happy is being content. What's being content and being happy?
yeah. But basically, you're asking about, is it a state or whatever? So one of the definitions is being at the state where you're just content with where you're at, right? So, you were also talking about, when you get this job, when you get this car. I actually just listened to a video. It's funny how we're talking about this, but throughout this entire week, I swear my phone was listening to me because I was literally getting videos on TikTok, Twitter about happiness. And the dude who's an actor in Transformers, is it LaBeouf or something like that?
Yeah.
Right?
Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
He has some deep talks, man. And I don't know what he's been through either. I know he's been through some stuff, but he was just saying, I finally became happy when I stopped saying, when I get to this, when I can do this. And it's he's so right. A lot of people know that. I've always known that, but there's still points where I'm not happy. But if I would wake up tomorrow and be like, man, when I get to bench 3 plates, I'll be so happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
that's like just not how you should live, man. Like, and with people on TikTok who supposedly are living very happy, and they're not really.
Yeah.
You know, and you're already telling yourself, man, if when I get to live like who so and so, I'll be happy. But realistically, they're not even happy. A great example is what's his name, dude? Oh my gosh, he's off of 21 Jump Street. The not Channing Tatum, but the other dude. You know who I'm talking about?
I don't know. I don't remember that movie.
You know, okay,
It was, I'm not a big movie guy, unfortunately. Except for Marvel. Let's get it.
Well, I am.
But
That's true.
I'm trying to think of.
Oh my gosh! I
know you're talking the bigger dude, right? Like
yes,
the bigger dude.
yes.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
So
it's not Shia LaBeouf. It's something like similar to that name.
Oh my gosh!
It's something similar to that name.
I literally know this.
Cut.
But anyway, he was a guy, like, he just came out with the Netflix movie about, like, with this therapist, actually. And he just talking about everyone always thought he was happy, but deep down he was actually scarred as a kid, right?
Oh.
From people calling him chubby, stuff like that.
Okay.
And that's crazy how being a kid, that can scar you.
True.
Our first podcast together, we actually talked about how something that happened to me in 5th grade actually really drives me to this day. But that's just a thing where, like, you look at him, he's rich, he's been in big movies, and at the same time, he literally straight out tells people, there's days where I'm completely not happy at all. So that people need to really watch themselves who they say when they said, when I can be like this person,
Right.
I'll be happy, you know. So it's just, moral of the story, just don't compare yourself, really.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do. It is really hard to do in today's world.
Okay. Yeah. As you're talking, like these just things just pop in my, like, just keep popping in my head. What I'm starting to realize as we're talking about this, it seems like to me that happiness can't be, the process of happiness can't be skipped. So what I mean by that is, doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how safe you are. Now, those are things that could help get you in the right state, get you prepared for happiness, quote unquote. But really, happiness comes down to the internal self, right? It's 100%. where have you got to internally? And you can't see that from Instagram. Now, the Instagram or whatever, TikTok or whatever you want to say, those give you external depictions of, they try to give you external depictions of the internal, but it could be completely faulty, because you could be the richest man on earth and be unhappy. We've seen a lot of famous people that have spiraled, are on drugs, and are gone because, yes, externally, that's the only we can't tell if a person is like happy, like internally. Like, I can't look into you and say if you're happy, but people try to use all the money that they gain or all the success that they have as a proxy for happiness. Like, oh, that guy must be happy because he's the greatest basketball player on earth. Yeah. Or that person must be happy because he has all this money or he has all these cars. And it's like, it's interesting because there's an internal, like, self, an internal level that you need to get to. So, like, there's kind of like this, yes, you have this outside of all this success or whatever, but there's also an internal, like, success and, like, happiness. And you see it in certain people that happen to be successful, but it's not everybody that's successful. And even people that don't have that level of success can be happier. Do you see, I don't know if do you see what I'm saying?
100%. I mean, that goes back to the state of being peace with yourself. I mean, that's within yourself, man.
Yeah.
Like, it 100% starts within your mind, within your soul, within your heart. Like, it literally just deals with you. And it's Jonah Hill, by the way. That's who it is.
Jonah Hill. That is it. Yep. That is it.
That was random.
Yep.
But what were you talking about?
Where are we at right now, bro?
Dude, I was saying
no, I'm just saying, like, the internal success versus the external success and, like, the happiness and how people use the external as a proxy to try to say, hey, look, I'm happy internally. Yeah. Like, no, like, you're not.
So that's where I was going to actually build off of that. So I think one thing that actually came out of COVID that was good, right? A lot of bad stuff did. But on social media, you will see people posting their bad days, posting maybe the obstacles they have to come over to at least just get up in the morning. That is normal. Like that to actually become a norm. For example, Jonah Hill's Netflix series.
Oh yeah.
Name me another Netflix movie that shows a famous person going through that stuff, and he's literally laying out what he says to his therapist. There's nothing like it. Literally nothing like it. And to be able to share something that deep, that like your internal problems with other people, first of all, brave as like honestly, thanks Jonah Hill, because it leads to people looking up to him and saying it's okay not to be okay. I know people say that quote a lot. It's okay not to be okay. And it's so true, because like happiness does go back to depression. That's a whole nother topic that we can get on. But being able to be transparent with your internal demons nowadays is honestly a really cool thing. Unfortunately, it happens a lot nowadays with a lot of people. But being able to go through something like that with others, I think can lead to happiness, really, because you can wake up and you be like, I'm not the only one going through this. So I think it really helps find your internal happiness with some people. So, do you agree with that? I mean,
I'm trying to think. Yes, of course. Like I'm trying to see that other people are kind of going through the same struggles with you, and then people are actually admitting like it's okay to be or to not be okay is a fantastic thing. The question is now, how do we fix this depression, almost like an epidemic that has taken over in society a little bit? And what do you think? Like, how do we move on? Like, how do we fix the depression epidemic? I don't know if I want to call it epidemic, but how do we fix depression in our society?
I mean, yeah, but if I could answer that, I'd probably be the president of the USA right now, because like that is one of our dude. That problem literally leads to so many things. It leads to if it gets really bad, it can lead to the development of people who kill other people. I mean, people that are pedophiles, shit like that, man. Like it can get really bad. But if we're staying on like the surface here, how do we fix that? Goes back to who is your role model, who your parents are. How do you fix how your parents teach you? God gave you free will. So honestly, it's all about, I mean, I don't think there's an answer to that. There's really not. I really don't think that. I think everyone has the option to teach their children how they should be treating others and how they should treat themselves and how they should look at the world. And you're only going to you're going to live through that and it's going to suck and you're not going to learn from it, or you live through that and you learn from it. Even though your parents didn't live through it and learn from it, you can still take their experience. Say your parents are 45 years old. Learn from them. Take that 45 years of experience they've already had and try to fix your life if it is broken from their experience, so you don't have to go through that. I think that's one of the ways. I think a big way to fix it, I guess, one of the ways is to look at yourself in the mirror and be truthful to yourself.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, I mean what you're saying is right. Like learning off of other people's experiences is going to be very powerful. But the crazy part is every human is kind of like, what they say is like just like kind of like just an open book in a way where you can fill a whole bunch of information in there. You get information from your environment, you get information from your parents. So like what you're doing is essentially creating like, a data set, like a database for humans to go into every time something happens in their life. They relate it back to, well, I felt really bad the last time this happened, so I'm never going to let this happen again. Or I felt really good the last time this happened, so this is going to continue to happen. So it's about exposing people to positive data, I think, over time. So really, it's everyone's job to create or to help with, like, let's just say this depression epidemic, right? Yeah. I think it's everybody's job. The more positivity that we create in our society, and that doesn't only mean, I should take that back. Creating good people. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we always have to be positive. right? We don't always have to be nice and positive. Sometimes you got to keep it real, because if you're always positive and a person's out there drinking like, oh, you'll get it together, or drinking every night, you'll get it together, man. You know, let's go. Like, bro, like, no, you got to keep it real, because that person's being exposed to bad data.
Yeah.
And, you know, eventually what happens when you just, all you have is just bad data, and you have no other data inputs to help you get out of that situation, you fall. The reason I'm doing, you know, a podcast, or the reason that I'm trying to find different ways of happiness, quote unquote, is because I had data sets of that, like, oh, this is what happiness. And obviously, like, I read the Bible, so it's a lot different what it says how to be happy there than what kind of society tells you. So it's like I'm exposed to different data.
Yeah. And
that's allowed me to be able to surf and choose between this or that. So it's really what you expose yourself to. So yeah, but your parents are just a huge factor of that. So
what do you think is the main cause of not being happy in today's world? Now,
that's a great question.
You know, we can talk about worldwide, I guess. A lot of what we're talking about, we only know what's going on in the U.S. a lot. I mean, there's, you know, overseas a whole different story. Like, I can't even fathom like what some other people are going through. Over there.
Wars, like civil wars.
And then that's another thing. We have people that may be sad for they don't get their new car that they want to get.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are going through a freaking. Could you imagine waking up to a missile going over your freaking house and just horrible. Like what?
Be horrible. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I don't think we can understand that.
No.
We literally can't understand that. But
nope.
Yeah, but back to that. What do you think, as of I guess let's just talk about the U.S. What do you think is the number one cause of not being happy for, let's just say, you know, people our age, our youngins, you know, say 30 and below, because we know at least somewhat what causes that unhappiness.
I think it would be thinking success is external, thinking happiness is external versus internal. So people try to find, and we've kind of been going on this theme, people try to find happiness outside of them. They think that this girl will make me happy. They think this house will make me happy. They think this car will make me happy. They think this job will make me happy. When in all actuality, if you really look up people are the happiest people in the world, or you see some of the happiest people in your life, they're no different than you and I and what they have, but they're totally different internally than everybody else. That is the changing variable. That's the thing that's different about them, you know, but most people don't recognize that. They think that because they're not happy internally, right? Mm-hmm. They think those external means is going to balance out their internal unhappiness. That's my answer to it. I don't know if you have a follow up that, and then I have to throw it back to you. I have to throw it back.
Okay. I'll follow up with that. So again, it's funny how we're talking about this, because just when I was in the weight room, I was on Twitter. I saw Rainn Wilson. He's the actor for Dwight Schrute on The Office. Do you know him?
I don't watch. Okay, this is really bad, guys. I know it seems like I don't.
Office?
I don't watch The Office. Okay. I know I'm terrible.
No,
I know.
I'm out.
Let me just explain what I do. So I'm into football. I like the Bears. I like
stuff. The Bears.
I like Zion.
He does like Zion.
I love Zion. I love basketball. I watch those things. I watch Marvel. I love Marvel. I like DC, but they're just a disaster right now. We all know that.
We should do a review on Ant-Man. That's what we should do. Anyway,
people be like, "What is this podcast about?"
No shit. Sorry, I had to say that.
Sorry, guys. You know, hey, we're just living.
Okay,
like and subscribe, baby. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with myself. All right, that's it. That's it.
I'm sorry for this.
That's it. Hit the.
But so Rainn Wilson, he tweeted. He was like, "Do you guys want me to, you know, do a podcast on how to find true happiness?" And I'm like, I should like DM him and be like, "Hey, come on a podcast," even though he's famous as hell.
Like, bro,
I actually just watched a video from him, and he said the wrong. Why are you laughing, bro?
I'm just thinking. Imagine like just a super famous dude sitting on the corner of this table.
And it's Dwight Schrute, dude. I idolize him. He's amazing.
He's sitting at the corner of this table. We pull up a stool that's broken for him.
Yeah. And like our acoustics.
Yeah.
No, but he said one of the main problems with people growing up, especially in their 20s, is that they think they need to be the top dog ASAP. Which I can attest to this because, like, my mindset in my lower 20s, I'm 22, I tried to push myself to the limits. But, like, recently I've known, like, don't push yourself too much because you'll truly not be that happy. But I think it's true because I remember, like, last year around this time, like, I was really I was in the trenches, like, trying to work hard, whatever.
Yeah.
Because, like, I would always see videos, like, your 20s when you need to get going, man. Like, if you're 30 and you don't reach your goals, like, bullshit.
Suck.
You're old, man. But it's like, I agree with Dwight, man, like Rainn Wilson, because it's like we're not trying to achieve the greatest thing on the planet. I mean, if you are, I mean, good for you, but just don't let it tear you down too much. Mm-hmm. But like, I totally agree with him. I think we need to stop being the group in today's society that thinks we need to be the top dog. Like, I shouldn't say the top dog, but that thinks that they need to be achieving something every single day, like ending world hunger, like something that big.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say lower your goals, but if your goals are attacking you and creating demons inside you, making you very unhappy, lower your goals a little bit. But you have to realize you're still achieving something. Like, you're not taking steps back, you know?
Yeah, I think what you're highlighting is kind of something I'm saying, because that happiness thing I was talking about, internal versus external, it also goes with your success. You should, in your 20s, like you worked extremely hard in your 20s and now you're doing great. I mean, you're already 20. I mean, you're 22, or wait, is it 22, right?
22, yeah.
Damn, that's so crazy.
You're 24, right?
I know, but it's just crazy.
Older.
Anyway, you're supposed to work hard. You're supposed to push yourself to the limit. The issue is when people don't realize the reward is not coming yet. It's not gonna come the next day once you worked hard. Like, it's gonna take time to set in. But what you're doing is you're internally building yourself up. You're creating that foundation internally, even if externally it looks all jacked up, just like when you're creating a building, right? Yeah. It looks all jacked up in the beginning. Absolutely. The building looks terrible. The foundations, you're like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? This thing was horrible. But as time goes on, you start to see it build, right? It's the same it's literally ubiquitous across life, right? Working out. The person who goes in and tries to be Mr. Olympia for a month is the one that externally, like, oh, they're working out 7 days a week, all this stuff or whatever. And I'm saying you need to work hard, but you need to lay the right foundation. Yeah. And that does take work. Like you said, you worked hard, you push yourself to that limits, but you got to find that right balance. You got to find the right time to de-stress and then, come back at it the next week. You're laying the foundation, even if you're a guy that's super out of shape or whatever it is. Lay your foundation, build your habits, and then it's not going to look great at first. But then a year goes by and you built your habits, and you're moving like a turtle per se. That turtle's still working extremely hard. That turtle's still working extremely hard. And then over time, there you go. And now you will be at your goal. It's like a law of, here we go. I'm not trying to bring it to a law of the universe, but it's like a law. It really is. It really is. That foundation needs to be laid first. Typically, when people get something so fast without the proper work or not internally being ready for that, it usually seems like they fall off. It usually seems like bad things happen.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I want to build off of that, which also leads to someone not being happy is when you compare yourself to others. And you were talking about like a guy who would come in, lift 7 days a week, and he's just going all, held loose. Right. But say someone comes in that gym that day and he is lifting heavy weight, right? Heavy weight. Say another one comes in that gym, does the same thing, but the one, it's his first day. The other one, he's been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
That guy who just came in the first day could look at the other guy and be like, dude, he's lifting so much and I'm not, but we look the same, right?
Yeah.
That dude doesn't know. That dude's put in 2 years of work ahead of him. So like nowadays, and you can think the opposite. So like when I go to the gym if I happen to see someone that's maybe not, their form not perfect, which could be myself too, but
No.
their form not perfect or they're not lifting a whole lot, people have to realize it could be their first day. I mean, them being here is a lot better than them not being here.
100%.
And I'm sure they're happy being there. So like, don't compare yourself in the wrong way, which would be actually judging someone for, bettering themselves. And don't compare yourself, making yourself feel bad by comparing yourself to someone who's put in that work already.
Yeah.
You can be there. Don't assume that they're at the same level on the ladder as you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. To build on that, if you lay a foundation, like let's say somebody has already laid their foundation, they're already a year into whatever thing that they're doing. But they've laid a pretty bad foundation, right? But everything looks good. It looks like they're killing it, but they've laid a bad foundation and you are just grinding and you've laid a quality, good foundation. What happens after 3 years? You catch up and you beat that person. It's every time. Their
Band-Aid falls off. It's a Band-Aid. They put a Band-Aid on their foundation.
Yeah.
It works temporarily.
Every time, bro. And this might be a little bit of a spin off into another topic. So you have to forgive me, everybody. Forgive me. But this brings me into another kind of point, which is the talk about passion. I believe passion is so like confusing, right? Because it's like, is it happiness mixed with love? Like, is that passion? Or like, what is it? What is passion, right? Because the most success I've ever seen, and this is going to be crazy, but the most success I've ever seen in my life, shout out to everybody from me junior high school. Okay, let's go. Was when I was running track and I broke like a couple of records. I was even good enough to run junior Olympics. Like I was extremely, extremely fast in 8th grade. Like everything was on. My mentality was so much different than even when I went to high school and then especially when I went to college. And it's like, it almost like took a nosedive. So for instance, or for example, I should say, is when I was in middle school and I was running track and I was doing everything, the biggest thing I can tell you how I felt was love, passion. I didn't feel like, oh, I got to grind. I got to work hard. I got to do this. I got to do that. I mean, I worked hard.
You were content.
But it was I was happy. It was like passion and love. It was like love, mixed with the working hard. Like you had to work hard, but it wasn't working hard. I can't explain it. And then high school, the success wasn't as crazy, but I still had that like love mixed with passion. But there was the element of, there's that working hard too, like working very hard. And, there's probably a little bit more negative emotions that were involved in high school. I didn't do as good as I did when I was younger in middle school. And then obviously everybody's getting better or whatever. Then as I got to college, I felt a passion again, like going into college. Like I always felt passion for football, but I'm saying that passion in the same way that I was young, like the love. And I'm talking about, I was at like my peak of speed, athleticism, juking ability. Everything was fluid. How I moved, everything was fluid. It was all love. It was like I wasn't even playing. It was just like, it was like, oh, I feel how to move here. Like, it's like, I love to do this. Like, I feel so advanced, like elite. I feel so elite type thing, But then, I got injured. And then it like kind of spiraled into just a long laundry list of issues and injuries. And that's just kind of typical of football. Mm-hmm. And then like, as it was a complete flip from when I started to where I ended in my last year of football, which was the worst I've ever mentally been playing football and playing college football. That was the worst mentally I've ever been. I was afraid of getting injured, which I never was in the past. I'd always just play, but I used to tense up because I didn't want to get hit in my ankles because I knew I could roll my ankle and it'll be done. Yeah. And I just wanted to freaking play. So I don't know. That's a kind of a spinoff. But
I know where you're coming from though.
Do you have anything like where it's like, I'm not even here right now. It's like, this is passion coming out of me It's like a love almost. I don't know.
I mean, I would go back to sports probably in high school.
But even with jobs or anything, like
well, okay. To circle it back around with happiness, though.
True.
I think passion is a source of happiness, I would say, because I think passion can be a great input for your soul to make you happy. It's just another thing for you to live for, really.
True.
And I guess I could probably say the same thing. Like in high school, I was playing sports with literally my brothers from another mother, and they were like, dude, it was like, I don't know. It's honestly, you explained it perfectly.
Yeah.
I was just like happy being there. Like we were playing basketball, but we were having so much fun. Basketball, football, baseball, whatever. I mean, when we I didn't play that much I played I started like 4 games when we won the championship in baseball, like in 2016. Shout out to Brady Hartman, one of the best players.
Shout out.
But like, it was like, even though I didn't play that much, I feel like your body almost feels all like the passion everyone else has, which leads to the happiness of everyone. When
it's like that synergy,
happy,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like when there's so much happiness in one place, like it's so good for your soul. Like
true.
And it sadly it went by very, very fast. But I think getting a taste of that in high school, and for you during your track season that time or your football seasons, like it's good for you to at least have a goal of what you want to get back to, your mental state that you want to get back to.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess what I'm poking at is like, it's a state of being. And if you reach that state, either mentally, if you reach that state mentally, then what is there? Like, if you reach that state mentally, what can you accomplish with that state? Because a lot of people aren't even close to that state, of being just everyday life or whatever. But if you start taking strategies and steps to not only fix your external, right, but to really fix your internal and get yourself in that state, what can you accomplish? You'll probably accomplish way more than if you have a bad internal and, and maybe you have a little bit of the external to go with it. It's that combination of, it's really the internal for me. Like, you have a amazing internal, your life is going to be butter no matter what you do. 100%. It's gonna, there's gonna be moments that suck, of course, but man, I think that's what we need to get to as a people, as a society, whatever, is constantly working on that internal. For instance, like this, having a podcast with me, like I talked about, has made my internal just a little bit move up to that state.
That's awesome.
Now I'm accomplishing things. I'm accomplishing more things that I didn't necessarily think was possible in the past. All right, one of them. We don't have to speak on it too much, but I'm accomplishing things that I'm like, man, this is kind of cool. But my state is rising because I'm going with the passion, but I still just can't pinpoint it. Like,
No, I mean, so I guess I can give an example. Like when let's see, when was it? When I first started my job, I mean, this has nothing to do with my job, but it was just during that time period. I was like the happiest ever. Well, okay, it was before that actually, because I was actually sad. I was gonna be away from my friends, blah blah blah. But it was like right before that, because I was living in Ankeny. I was finishing up school. I had good grades. My friends were great. And I was like so happy. Like I literally remember saying like all this stuff on social media about how your early 20s are hard, like very hard. I'm like, dude, like, no, it's not. Like, this is smooth, butter, easy. But that's also the time in my life where I really did look at the small things. Like I was saying before, I don't want to repeat myself, but basically I was, thanking God I woke up, thanking God I had shelter, shit like that. It was the small things. So this I want to go on to kind of the next topic though. It's about happiness, but I texted you the other day how I really do think for the most part, happiness is an option, which
True.
I know that a lot of people are gonna, probably hate that, that's why I said most people, because a lot of people don't have the opportunity to be happy. It goes back to someone that's being homeless. There are homeless people. Like, I've literally seen homeless people that are happy. They're fine. Like, they're doing okay. But there's also homeless people where they hate life because stuff's not going for them.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. I can't comprehend that, but I understand that.
Right. Like you can't, with these conversations, like you can't talk about the outliers because we have to stay around the average of people, right? Because like there's outliers. But the crazy part is there's outliers of happiness too. Like you would think this person's not happy. Right.
Yes.
But they're happy. And then there's those outliers that, okay, this person grew up in just such a bad situation and so horrible. Like I understand why they're being brought down. You know, so I guess maybe for those that the normal, like if it's a normal distribution, like in the middle of people, you know, on the bell curve or whatever, in the middle of people is what we're kind of focusing on here, not necessarily the outliers.
Exactly.
But the outliers can tell you a lot. So
they will.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. But
no, you were just saying like a happiness, and you're kind of saying like people in general, like
how it's optional.
Yeah.
This was another video I saw the other day just about
he was like, what?
Dude, what?
You're like, what?
Dude, I swear, like, my mind thinks so deeply about something to where, like, I literally am thinking about something 1 second and then the other. But then I get so caught up in that thought, I'm like, what was I even thinking about?
It's okay.
You know, like, as of, like, in this moment again. Oh, wait. So
happiness is an option?
Happiness is an option. So
nice. Let's go.
Like, it's all about, I did want to touch base on this.
Let's go.
One of my friends reminded me of this word, but perspective. Dude, this is honestly a word that, like, it's so damn strong, but I think it's undervalued, right?
Okay.
Because the other day I was having a bad day, and this one friend's actually, like, so cool. Like, I'll literally straight up tell him, like, dude, my day sucks right now because of this and that. And one word response was perspective. I'm like, shit,
nice.
You're right.
True.
And this perspective goes in many different directions. It's the same thing as me getting up and say, thank God for my life. That's perspective. But I think if people truly keep into account that word in their life, their everyday living perspective, it goes a long ways, dude. I think it goes a long ways.
Yeah. Perspective. Explain it.
I'm just going to get like a tattoo.
Explain it for the audience. I think they want to know.
Explain perspective?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just think about my everyday life. Okay. Let's just say where I live, right? For example, there was a sign up in my apartment 3 weeks ago or something like that about something with hot water, right? My first thought was, are you serious? Like, I pay X amount to not have, hot water right away. And then I step back. Then I'm like, okay, Mitch, you greedy son of a gun. Think about this in perspective. There are literally people that don't have any water, right? Yeah. There are people that have water, but not clean water like I have. So it's like, just chill out, dude. Like, you'll live. Cold shower doesn't hurt. I mean, thankfully, I never actually noticed what the problem was, so I don't know what the sign was about. No. But I thought about that. I'm just like, okay, like, seriously, think about it in your perspective, right? Your tiny little brain.
True.
And like, there's no reason to be mad about something that's stupid. So that's a great example of, take a step back. Goes back to something I said on the first podcast. You ever get upset with something? Take one day to think about it, even though I should do this a lot more. One of my friends told me this at one point in my life. Think a day about that problem. Look back on it. Was it really worth the upset? The sadness, the anger, the frustration. That is putting it into perspective for those who want to know. Putting it in
perspective. That's an element of raising that internal, is using that perspective. It's a tool to raise your internal state. Keep bringing it back to this.
I think if we would take one thing away from this podcast, like, what's the definition of perspective or happiness, right? Happiness. Like, if someone asked me that tomorrow, I would take that. I would say having your internal state elevated or I don't know, having your internal state at peace, right? Yeah. I think it does go, it goes back to your internal state. And I think that comes with experience. You need to understand it doesn't matter about the external inputs that are put into your soul. It's all of your internal state, right?
Yeah, because like with the car, it doesn't matter what the outside of the body of the car looks like. It matters what's in the engine and how it's built. You know, the car could look great, but you know, it may get dusted. You ever see like those like back road races, like racing shows where like it's like a super nice car just gets dusted by this old beat up car because it has a better engine in it. Yes. It's kind of like that, right?
They like a turbo on without telling anyone, and then they just dust them.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So like that's kind of how I think about it. It's like it's that internal state. So going all the way back to the beginning when I talked about the pictures. Of the girls just like with their head back and hair flopping in the wind or hair flying in the wind and they're in the beach. It's like the picture's that way because it's trying to tell you something internal through an external picture because you can never see the internal, right? Yep. It's so funny how if you look up happiness, you see smiles. You see the girl like this in the wind. You see beach,
and it
palm
says
trees.
The state of being happy.
Right. But what you never see or what you don't see is cars, fancy clothes, watches, like really Rolex watches.
That's
chains.
True.
You don't
true.
Diamonds. You don't see
it's
a big
sunshine, right? Sunshine also
because it's telling you something internal.
It's literally
not telling you something external.
Yep.
But what do you see on some of the media sites? And I'm not saying the media sites are bad themselves. I'm saying what's being posted on there. So like what do you see? From these media sites that are making people the most unhappy. Yep. It's the reverse, right? You're not seeing like people talking about the internal, how to get happy, like internally. You're seeing the cars, the clothes, the big muscles, the this, the that, right? Because they want to, people want to show off things. Nothing's necessarily wrong with that. But when you take that in, when kids take that in, and even adults take that in, that's how people get confused
100%.
Because they're not thinking about internally, what is that person like? Because they could have a lot of money, cars, whatever, because they just internally have really worked on themselves and they made it to a super high level, right? But it's a double-edged sword because it can also be not true at all. They could be not happy at all, but you're following these people and you're like almost worshiping their, their materialism.
Yep.
In a way, but that's not it. Material, it's a good side piece, but it's not the thing.
It's not
it.
No.
But it's good. It's good to have it. That kind of comes with when you fix that internal. So
yeah, people have to understand. I think that if they look at someone with a nice car, right, like a Lambo, whatever, like they don't have to look at them and be like, oh, that person's happy because they have the Lambo.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's what happens.
That's what happens.
I think what people need to look at, which if the person truly isn't a showboat, right? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but think of someone that's very humble. If they look at that Lambo and they say, that person's happy, so they could have rewarded themselves with the Lambo. There's nothing wrong with that. No one should be getting put down thinking that way. Because say I won the lottery or whatever, and I am truly happy. I'm going to go buy my parents a brand new house, right?
True.
That's materialistic. But people shouldn't look at that and say, man, I wish I had a house like them. They should look at that like, okay, Mitch was happy. He wanted to spread that happiness just by showing, it almost symbolized, some love for his parents. That's why I wanted to buy them a new house.
It's all symbols for internal.
Yes.
The external is all symbols for internal. But with this specific thing in social media, it's like you think that this external symbol tells you something about this person's internal, but it doesn't always necessarily do.
100%.
And then what ends up happening, like I just said before, and like we're kind of just talking about, is kids, people just in general start worshiping the external symbol when really they should be looking at this person's internal state and finding out where they're at internal. Yeah. And that should tell them everything they need to know. Forget all the cars, forget all the houses, all the money. What is this person like internally? Where's their happiness internally? Because like I just said, external is a symbol of internal happiness. Look at David Goggins, right? He runs all these miles. It looks like this guy suffers constantly, but he is so happy.
He is.
He's happy.
I think he has been through a lot of shit.
It's true. But I think, you know what? I don't know. I think he is happy, but I'm thinking he's happy because of his passion for what he does and pushing himself to the ultimate limit. That's what he likes to do. That's his thing. Right?
Yep.
But
on a different scale, though, say you go and you have a 2-hour workout, you come out of that gym, someone looks at you for the first time, you look dead. You're actually happy though, because you just, you know, that's a smaller scale, but you know what I mean though, like that you are truly happy, but you probably look like crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're probably like, oh my God, you know, you're probably just dead, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely
I think
a
it's
different.
more relatable, I guess, to an everyday life, right?
Yeah. And so I guess I'm trying to see where I'm going to take it. So I have 2 ways I could take it. This is just weird. As I'm thinking about it, I'm just really thinking about like when I envision happiness, what do I envision? And what I envision is actually kind of weird. I don't know if I even envision any. What happened? You're good?
No, I'm going to ask you a big question.
True.
Go ahead.
What I envision is not necessarily external in nature. What I envision is myself, like healthy, in good shape, like just, you know, healthy in shape, physically, mentally, all the way there, you know, family, friends with it. But the houses and all the nice stuff are still there in the picture, but they're not the thing. They're not the forefront. It's my internal state that's really the forefront. But people would think that the external things are the forefront. Yeah. But really, it's the internal state that is the forefront for me.
But again, your external state can feed for your internal state. It can for the good.
Yes. If it's used right, it's used as right, feeding, you know, helping the internal state, not being the thing, not being the prize. So when people talk about success or money or this or that, I think we just kind of talked about it, but that's not the prize.
No,
I don't know. No. Okay, but okay. I don't know if you have anything on that, but I dove into that.
No.
I don't
have anything to add. I 100% agree. I mean, that's like, yeah.
How can you, Mitch? I don't know if I should say your full name. I'll block it out if you don't want to have your full name on there.
Yeah, no.
Look him up, guys. No, I'm kidding. I could block it. So, okay.
I do have a big question.
Do you want to ask your question first, or do you want me to ask you?
My question is the mic drop at the end question.
The mic drop at the end?
Well,
okay, we'll leave it for the end.
It's not like a word. It's more like
we'll leave it for the end.
It's a bigger question.
True.
So we can leave it for the end. If you have another question.
I do have another question for you.
Okay. Mate. Go for it.
In your life going forward from this podcast that just changed everybody's life that's listening to it. Everybody is good. It's going to be better. It's going to be crazy. Directly from
Elon,
this podcast.
if you're listening.
we are the singularity of happiness. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. What step now, like kind of we're talking about what steps from what you learned today, what are you going to take forward in your life? Like, what are you going to do differently? Or are you going to do anything? Are you doing the right things?
So if I do look at myself in the mirror right now, right, I would say what we've talked about today, that's been my goal. Now, have I been doing all the things we talked about today? No. So I guess if I take anything from today, it would be Mitch, stop being, you know, what do they call it? You're a doer or just a sayer, right? Or there's the 2 terms there. I want to be more of a doer, right?
Doer? Okay.
Actually do it. Like, it's just excuses, I feel like, sometimes with me. Like, I really feel like I say, you know, for example, like, I'm busy tonight. I'm not going to go through the baby steps to do this. Like something as simple as like personal hygiene. Like I'm big on like staying like my personal hygiene, brushing teeth, stuff like that. Like that's a different scale. But like I could say, I live to tonight. I'm so tired. I'm just going to brush my teeth and not do any face stuff and go to bed. Like skipping those small steps.
And by hygiene, he means obviously he's taking a shower, doing all that stuff. He means like really taking care of his skin, like deeply.
Yeah, I'm saying like skin, brushing teeth, flossing, that. Like
that's like flossing and just okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I should. I don't know.
Like sometimes, bro, I just like say I'm not taking a shower for like 3 days, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like I'm tired. It just smell like fuck.
No, I swear I've never done that. But the point of that though is like I guess if I take anything away from today, it's just like don't miss the small steps. I mean, the small steps, and the stupid thing is, I know that. I know the reward I can get from that. But we're humans, dude. We're not perfect. You know, I'm not perfect. Shit happens. But I want to, you know, speak that really into my existence.
Okay.
Really.
So small steps. So
what about you, Isaiah?
Was that the final mic drop question?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Wait. Did you? Yeah, I want to ask you that though.
Do you want to? Okay. You want to repeat? Okay. For me, I think is focusing on that internal state and finding ways to heighten that internal state by perspective, like you talked about, by positivity, like I talked about, and you know the other ways as I look more into it to raise me. I think spiritually is another way that's raising that internal state, and yeah, I don't know if I have any other particular things, but I think that is it. And then the external will come from the internal, I think.
Hell yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I agree 100%.
100%.
100%.
100%.
So yeah, I guess I wanted to ask you something. I literally just thought of this.
Okay, here we go. Boom. Let's do
Look
it.
into the future, Isaiah.
Okay,
right?
I'm looking.
You're
I'm there.
80 years old. You made it.
Dang,
You're
80?
You're 80 and you're still benching 315.
Let's go.
So, no, just say 85. So you're benching 155. You drop
Dang.
down in 5 years. So you say you're, 80, 90, whatever, however you're old. You're older. In that moment, if you look back on your life, what could you have done in your life to make you say, I am truly happy at this moment in my life? What events, I'm going to go with some family stuff, but for you, right? I don't know. What could make you truthfully say to yourself in the mirror at that age where your life is honestly coming to an end, say, I'm happy. I'm happy with what I've done.
Wow, that's a good question.
I know.
I would say,
It's kind of, I know.
you know
it's
what's
big.
crazy about that
What?
is I don't know if there's any at that age. It's really letting go. Like letting go of maybe the things I messed up on, or maybe the things I didn't achieve, or maybe the things that happened, and just thinking about all the good times, no matter the context, right? All the funny times or little moments or the love from my parents and love from my family and friends or whatever, or like just some of the fun things that I did in my life that I look back on. It's just letting go. And that's it. I don't think there's anything that I get to that, any profound thing. And I mean, I think the most profound thing is the simplest thing, which is just letting it go and just moving on to the next step, the next transition. We are. No, I'm kidding.
That's beautiful, bro. Damn, that's good. That's good. Isn't it crazy to think about those times though, when you get that old? That just like I personally would say, right? If I would ask myself that question, I would say, if I could come to the consensus to where, I would be thinking about the future, of course.
Mm-hmm.
If I could go to my creator and he would go to me, this is something David Goggins says, actually. He handed me a piece of paper and he says, this is what I had planned for you. And this is what you did. 2 pieces of paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I could look at those and they're somewhat, what he had planned, and I, like, at my life, if I'm sitting in a nursing home at 80-some years old, and I truthfully deep down think I met that, goal, met those standards, whatever, I would be at peace with myself. Now, what if that doesn't happen? Because life never goes the way you want it to go, right? What if that didn't happen? I think I would go back to exactly what you said. I would need to definitely come to the conclusion that I'm human and I need to forgive others that, did me wrong. Most importantly, even at the age I'm at now, I need to start forgiving myself at stuff that I've done wrong. Like I'm 100%, dude, there's days where I'm just like, I wish I could go back to that moment. and say sorry to that person for my behavior. Sometimes I like look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I do that? I think when I'm 80 some years old, I think it's going to be very important to do that. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to live with myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that is such an important part at finding your inner peace that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So that's a big step, I think.
Is that like the final ladder in it? Like, is this eventually you get to the top and you've done everything, all this work, and then, you get to the top and you're like, oh, just let go. That's it. Boom, you're done.
Well, for being honest, you don't always have a choice, like at that point, right?
Well, I mean, I'm saying, like, if you get to that, like, people that have really gotten to that level of just complete, utter happiness, and then let's just say, they're like, you were bringing up the example of, you're talking to God, the creator, and you're sitting there, you're talking to God, and God's like, look, nothing you could have done in this life was better than what Jesus Christ came down here and did for your entire group of people. He's like, you impress me from being you. It's like, that's why I love you. And he's like, that's the only thing I care about. You've made mistakes. You've done this. You've done that. But I've only tried to guide you to really, truly be you, because those mistakes you made were not you.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted you to be. And if you found that out earlier in your life, to just be you and do what you want to do, and you let go of some of the things that are holding you back, that's it.
If I was
now come along through the gates.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I will. Before he takes it back. Go.
I'll be like, that's, and we're gonna be like,
he's
gonna be like telling me this as I'm walking, like, let's walk and talk. What do you think?
Yeah. Like, hey, close the gate. Guard, close the gate. Close the gate.
And you're walking up, I'm like walking to the gates, like, yeah, that's crazy. You're really right. You're really right.
Can you repeat that?
They start to close a little bit, like, I'm like, yeah, that's really crazy, God. That's really crazy. You trying to start zooming into the gates? No, I'm kidding, God. I'm just joking. But seriously, like,
I'm not though. But that was hilarious. Holy
like, what are we walking talk? I'm like, you know what?
Faster.
That's crazy, but those are closing. I see it's a minute left, God.
Yeah, there's a timer.
I mean, woo, speed this up, right? No, I was kidding.
But say you're on your deathbed and you're truly talking to God and you do feel like He's telling you that would be all for me. That would be the cherry on top. If I truly I feel like I do believe like when you get close to death, you're gonna connect somehow. You're gonna, before you die, something's gonna connect. And I feel like if you meet that, I'm good. Like, I'm good, bro. Like, I'm ready to be taken.
How crazy is that, though, right?
It's crazy.
We talk about all these things we want to accomplish in our life and how much all this stuff bothers us. But what you just said is right when you get to the end, you don't care. Not that you don't care, but like, it's like, it's just, woo, like, whatever. Like, but how crazy is that?
I could have lived a life of nothing, and God probably will that's another.
No,
God will
probably
still say that shit, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah. Well, like I'm just saying, like you could live the life of nothing, or you could be a super famous person, but super successful person, but when you are at the end, you're like, all right, cool,
yeah,
like whatever.
That's why that quote says, "Why take life so serious? You're not gonna get out of it." You're not going to get out of it alive.
True. That's Mitch Quote. Mitch Quote. Follow him. He's opened up a page. Instagram. It's called Mitch Quotes.
Damn, bro.
No, but like that's crazy. It's like you start off not caring about anything, right? As a baby, you're just not caring about anything. You just want to be happy and be yourself. You're literally being yourself. And then by the end of your very last moment, you go back to not caring again.
Yep.
And you have no control whatsoever.
Yep.
And you don't know anybody again, basically. Well, you're going to know like your family or whatever, but everybody that you've known pretty much is probably gone. Like if you're that old, not if you die in the middle, so maybe it's not a perfect metaphor. It's not a perfect system.
Oh,
but yeah, that's good. I think we have to end it there.
Dude, that was amazing. I think we do too. That was great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I want to talk about Jake Paul. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
We're not ruining this podcast.
I'm kidding. Nothing against him. Okay. But guys, I think that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Of course, shout out to Bulldog. That's my dog. You know how it go. And if you guys have listened all the way to this point, much love to you guys.
Honestly,
much love to you guys. Appreciate it.
Hopefully, y'all are enjoying it.
I know,
right? Maybe, but I guess my biggest hope for whoever's listening, maybe this made them happy. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about this stuff, I can tell you I'm in a better mood now than I was when I came in.
True.
Like I think talking about this. So that's my goal. Hopefully, if you're listening yet, we've shined some light on your day.
I hope we did. And you want to sign off?
No, you got it.
Oh, come on. You know you can hit it. Okay.
No.
We out. Yeah. Yeah. Tell them, Bulldog.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Peace out.
Peace.
I hope you guys liked that episode. Do you think they liked it, Stella? I don't know. Well, guys, go ahead and you can go ahead and subscribe to our channel or click on another one of these videos so you guys can see more. Say bye to him, Stella. Bark. Bark.